Welcome to the DYB podcast, where each week we share strategies and stories to inspire you to double your business so that you can have financial freedom, time for your family, and make an impact in your community. And now, this week's episode.
What happened?
So, obviously, I'm up here in Alaska, and we were up on a job on the hillside, and I get a phone call freaking out from one of my foremen, and he goes, "Bear!" And I'm like, "What do you mean bear?" He's like, "Hey, there's a black bear running around our job site, and he's in the driveway." I'm like, "Well, get inside, do something." So they go inside the homeowner's garage, and they peek out the corner, and this black bear dived in to one of my employees' trucks and ripped up the sunflower seeds, tore up the bag, tore up his truck some, and then just kind of moseyed on off. So it was a straight adrenaline rush for the guys. But yeah, we had a bear running on our job site. It wasn't a huge black bear is a little smaller, but it's still a bear. So it wasn't expected. So
That's awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Man, so everybody's worried about our alligators.
yeah.
So
Yeah. A bear can take an alligator. I put my money on a bear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm kidding. Well, that's awesome. Well, hello to our viewers and listeners back to the DYB podcast. Our mission is to help you to build profitable businesses so that you can have financial freedom, time for your families, and make an impact in your communities. In this episode, I am, and so has Ben, recording live from Alaska, representing the Campbell painting right here. And so I've honor to be spending a few days with Ben up here in Alaska, up in Anchorage, and this is gonna be real fun. We're gonna do a dive. Ben was on the podcast previously, but a lot has changed since then. And then I also have April and Seth with me here to chat with Ben. So fantastic, Ben. Welcome back.
thank you.
You're welcome. So it's been a lot of fun. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Oh, okay. It's been a lot of fun. A lot's changed since first podcast. In fact, the first one I might have had you on a little too soon. I was just excited. I'm like, Alaska, that's awesome. Let's hear about it. But a lot's changed since then. And then I think we were tracking 1 million. This time we're tracking closer to 2 million. And in fact, you and Seth have a lot in common, which is kind of fun. You guys are also in the same mastermind group. And so you get to share and share alike and get to know each other really well. But let's start back to where we left off on the last podcast and where we are today. So, for example, tech is new, right? So you make the joke that like I'm a horrible millennial because you're not strong with tech, but you're crushing tech now. We'll start with your tech stack. What does your tech stack look like when you think about the life of a lead? They come in and then what?
Yeah.
How do they come in?
So,
which apps?
Yeah. So I have to thank Steve, you and April for helping me out so much with the tech stuff. As I said, I'm really, really far behind on a lot of that for someone my age. But just we have almost everything automated now, which is just absolutely fantastic, and how much that frees up time for Brianna. So you book the appointment right on the website. You pick the day and time you want me to show up. I show up. And then once they enter in their information, they book the appointment. It gets automated to my phone. And then it gets automated to Paint Scout, my estimating software. So then when I show up to the quote, I write all their information's there. I write up the quote. They hit accept proposal. And then that gets automated into our project managing app Monday. That gets put into our customer list. That gets put into our ClockShark clock in, clock out app. Then that gets put into, there's so many things. I don't even remember. There's something else. But
Did you say QuickBooks?
It gets put into QuickBooks. It just keeps going. Like, it's just absolutely fantastic. And the biggest
Domino effect.
It's the straight domino effect. And the amount of time, and it's all zapped. The Zapier is behind it. But the amount of time that my office manager, Brianna, and I save on that is absolutely just fantastic. That is one of, if not the biggest thing that has helped me take almost double my business in 1 year. We're shooting for 2 million. We're really close to it this year. But that is the biggest thing that has helped me, because my time is very valuable, but that's the biggest thing that has just pushed me up and towards my goals in which I wanted to be.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And both you and Seth have the automatic pre-selling emails as well.
Yes.
I want to mention that because once that lead gets booked in both of your calendars, they get to know you, know, like, and trust you with those awesome emails that are hand-tailored to you guys. And Steve had wrote the copy, and then we just insert your information. So I've seen them. I love your emails, so it's just fun to talk about. But yeah, those get sent out immediately before they even meet you guys.
Exactly.
So.
Those pre-selling emails
sure.
are fantastic.
I want to make sure April gets her props. For those who don't know, is April and her team who set up all those apps for you guys. Like, I don't even know how to set up this app, and they put together those automations. And so she's really the unsung hero behind DYB, and she doesn't get
we have a great team.
enough credit. So thank you for that, April.
Thank you. But we have a great team and a great Zap team too.
She has given them all the credit. Awesome. So Seth, you're going to jump in?
No, I was just going to say that it parallels a lot of what you have set up is exactly how we have it set up. And I mean, I just share the sentiment for sure, how much time it saves.
Yeah, I know, because every time Steve's like, Seth's doing this, I'm like, oh man, I have a little bit of a competition with you.
We're like the same revenue size. I think the same amount of employees. And I think it's like, kind of like tracking, we don't, it doesn't snow here, but I think we do very similar work as well.
I have one other handicap is I have 2 kids. All right. And I'm not sleeping at all right now. So, all right. That's my only other little one up. All right.
Oh, man.
You're behind, Seth. You guys have to have some kids now.
Oh man, that's awesome. So let's. So Alaska is unique. It's the last frontier, and I remember last time I was here, I learned a few cool stats about Alaska. Like if you cut Alaska in half, it's still larger than Texas, right? So it's more than twice the size of Texas. I posted a question on Facebook on the way up here. What's the population of Alaska? It's more than twice the size of Texas, and the answer is it's about 750 thousand. Is that correct, Ben? Okay,
correct.
700. Okay, and then we're here in Anchorage, and what is it, like 350-ish here in the city of Anchorage? Okay, and there's all kind of trains here.
So half of them.
Yeah, half right here. And then if you go out there, it's called in the bush, right? If you go out far, it's in the bush. And then Ben's talking about on the slopes, and I'm like, I'm thinking skiing, somebody hitting the slopes, but well, it's more like no, right? So what slopes are? Go ahead, explain what the slopes are.
So the slope, obviously, Alaska's a big oil manufacturer. Like, we have a bunch of oil here, so that's where all the drilling goes for extracting oils up on the slope. So there's like maybe a couple little villages up there, but if there wasn't oil up there, it would just be bare land. So they've built all their own infrastructure up there, and they have literally towns and communities of just oil, of slope workers is what we call them, and they work 2 on 2 off. But yeah, no, it's nothing up there except oil and flat land.
Yeah,
and bears.
And bears.
No, there's polar bears up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I told Ben on the flight up here, there were nothing but Conoco corporate attorneys sitting all around me, just scanning contracts and highlighting contracts for hours all the way up here. They'd have a glass of wine and they'd scan some more contracts. These Conoco lawyers, I'm like, my goodness, but I was just surrounded by them. I'm like, okay, oil's big business in Alaska, no doubt. A lot of unique projects. One of them we looked at yesterday, we went up to a cabin, which in fact is right next to one of your cabins, and it had some of the largest logs I've ever seen. Such a cool project. What anything unique about that? Like, what? I don't know. Like, in Florida, we don't really have log cabins. You don't have a lot of stucco homes. So what's there was something with the builders of the cabin. What's unique about that project?
Yep. So the builder is Pioneer Log Homes. They're based out of BC, and they had a TV show for a while. And they cut all these trees down. They build it in British Columbia. Then they Lincoln Log, take them apart and ship them up. They shipped them up here to Alaska, and then just Lincoln Log put them back together. And so these trees are probably, and they're all cedar trees. These trees are like 200-year-old cedar trees. It's it's almost like a painter's dream to get a job like this. It's just like sanding all the logs down. You just smell the cedar, and it's just, so we sandblasted everything because they from BC to Alaska, they got super dirty just in transport. We sandblasted everything. Then we came back and hand sanded everything. The inside's all clear coated and done. The outside right now we're starting to stain it, and it's right on the lake, right on Nancy Lake. It's right next to my cabin. So it just upped the value of my cabin substantially, which I'm fine with. And they're fantastic neighbors too. They're such down people. Like it's pretty exciting to have them as neighbors, but it's more exciting to me being part of this project. So every weekend I go up to my cabin on the lake, I was a part of this build. So
yeah, very cool.
And then there was the
I can smell the cedar in my mind.
Yeah, it was I tried taking pictures, but you can't really capture all the awesomeness in the photos. And I took a couple. That's really an amazing project. There was another one. Tell us about the chalet, Sheldon Chalet. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm. Sheldon Chalet.
Tell us about that.
That's my focal piece right now. Like that's the job of a lifetime. That's on the backside of Denali Mountain. You either have to helicopter in, or you got to fly on the Otter, which is a type of plane, and land on the glacier below. There's nothing else out there. The family that built this place, their dad homesteaded this land back in the early 60s. And to my understanding, they are the only privately owned land in a national park in the United States, because they're in the national park.
Wow.
The Alaska Range. They're in the national park there. And he homesteaded some land, and he was really smart about it too, whereas if you have 5 acres or over, it can only be for residential use. So he homesteaded 4.9 acres so he could build something that he probably couldn't do in his lifetime. He built a little cabin there, but he couldn't do in his lifetime, but his kids could, that they could rent out or do some sort of resort there. So fly out there. We had to stay out there the whole time. We had to, there was one guy out there with us. We had to make all our own water. We had to bring out all our own food. Had to bring out every single piece of tape, film, everything like that, because the helicopter ride is like $9,000. So that'd be really expensive 1 gallon of paint if I ran short. So it was, yeah. And we had avalanches. I mean, like, cause I'm born and raised, I'm 3rd generation Alaskan, and I've never seen a real avalanche. I mean, because it's scary. Avalanches, you kind of go the other way, but we had a massive avalanche close to us, crazy northern lights. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of wildlife because it's in the middle, like, of a valley. So, and all the way out there, but that job was just unreal. I still say this. I still can't believe they paid me to go out there and paint it. Like, it was unreal.
Wow.
What does it cost to rent this place for, say, a weekend?
So I was told to rent out the whole house, which is a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house. You get your own private chef. You get 2 expediting like guides to take you out ice cave climbing and skiing and stuff like that. Is $89,000 for a week.
Oh my!
Perhaps not this year.
Yeah. That is wild.
Wow.
Awesome.
Now, there's no place to stay. Did you guys camp out there, or how did you stayed there the whole time? So where were you, like in tents and stuff?
No, no. You have to stay. We stayed in the chalet. We had to stay on site because we're up on a ridge in the middle. Like we're on like a little mountain peak.
Yeah.
And then it's drops off like that. And then there's the glacier below. So it's like, there's only one place to stay and that's it. There's nowhere else to be.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Seth?
Very cool.
I remembered seeing that, I think, were you on the cover of the magazine?
Yeah. APC. Yeah. We got front cover.
Yeah. APC. Yeah. That was awesome. I wanted to ask you, cause I know you're in Anchorage, but you mentioned the cabin, a few different times. You've seen some pictures of stuff you're doing. How is the majority of your work? Because I also see, your average single family residence home. Is the majority of your work within like a certain radius, but you also have a lot of projects at cabins and at people's, further away? I mean, how far are you guys typically traveling for for most of your work.
Yeah. So we usually stick more to South Anchorage, but we go to West Anchorage, East Anchorage like that. But predominantly, I'd probably say good 70% of our work is in Anchorage. But there is the other 30% is not in Anchorage, where we just did a job out in Dillingham, which is in Western Alaska, where you got to fly out. And then we did a lodge out there for Bristol Bay Native Corporation, which was fantastic. Like we did the Denali one. We went down to Kodiak and we did the Alaska Airlines terminal in Kodiak. So the bush is very much a part of my business, and Kodiak's not the bush. That's an actual like town and everything else. But outside of Anchorage is a good chunk of my business. But predominantly, for the most part, we are in Anchorage doing all our work here because this is over half the population is here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we get little things here and there. And a lot of times it's because we have to fly out because if you go to these smaller towns and everything else, they maybe have one painter and that's it. And he's just like someone who does it on the side. So there's no like big painting companies in these smaller towns everywhere. So you have to ship them up from Anchorage, and that's where we will go anywhere.
So how does that work in terms of, do you have like a traveling foreman, or are you flying out there during those projects like one time, or are you someone managing the rest of your business while you're out of the town, or how does that work?
Yeah, most of them do still have cell service, so I still can stay in contact with my guys. There's cell service almost everywhere in Alaska, so I can stay in contact. But I kind of I move it around, so I don't always just send one crew. Like they're not the bush crew because that's hard on you. That's hard on your families too because you're out there for a month or something, and and like the Denali, we were only out there a week, but there's no cell phone service, so it's really no contact with anyone. But like the Dillingham job, we had Jarek's crew out there. Sheldon Chalet was Taylor and James. Then when I did the Kodiak, like I move it around. I don't have one certain crew going around doing it. And a lot of the times the guys like it too because they get paid travel time, they get paid per diem, and they work because there's nothing else to do. They work 12, 14-hour days and they get all the overtime. So then they get a huge chunk, a huge check at the end of that job. And then they can, and usually they ask for usually Monday or Tuesday off the week after when we get back. But I'll mix it up.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you, Steve had mentioned that you're looking to get another estimator besides yourself when you're approaching 2 million. How's that going?
We got him, and he is an all-star. He is just absolutely perfect. Like he's already because a lot of times employees don't think so much about they only think not always for themselves, but they're not really thinking about the bottom line or anything. And I have him estimating, and he's kept saying to me, Ben, I'm scared that we're going to win this, and I'm going to be like, we're not making money. I'm like, all right, well, let's training him up. Let's get it going. And he's just super personable, like someone you'd feel completely comfortable with in your house. I've known him for years, and he used to work for me. So he knows the industry. 10 years ago, he used to be one of my foremans. And then he went to college, got a degree in construction management, and then went and worked for a big concrete company up here in Anchorage. And then that contract ended. Then went and worked for a restoration company. And then the restoration company is super nice, but they're pretty upset with me because I seeked out Kenny when I knew I needed an estimator. And I hired him on, and he's like, let's do this. And that's what he said. He's like, let's do this. Let's make some money. And he's just, I couldn't be happier. And he's only been on for 2 weeks, and I couldn't be happier with how much he cares already right now and how just a person he is. It's really exciting. So,
I want to make a point to his character real quick in that we wanted him bad, but Kenny said, let me make sure that these guys are okay before I leave. And what did we have to wait, Ben? Like 2 months or something for him? Like it wasn't he didn't give him a 2 week notice. He gave him like a 2 month to make sure, maybe 3. It felt like a year, but we had to wait a couple months for him to make sure that the company he was leaving was okay before he stepped away to come join.
That's great. Yes.
That, your seasonality in Atascadero, Alaska, very similar name. I live in Atascadero. we think of it like here we get some rain a little bit. It's kind of cold for a couple months, and we're like, oh, everything slows down. Nobody's getting any work done. In Alaska, it's like it's snowing from maybe end of September to like maybe beginning of May, middle of May. It could be
not
cold.
due to global warming. Alaskans love global warming because we get longer seasons. But sorry. Yeah.
So the big question for me is like, do you feel like pressure? Maybe how does that work? How does that work? Do you cut your staff?
Do you
cut your staff?
We haven't been, and which has been the reason why I've been able to be so successful is so we theoretically have 100 days to paint outside, and that's pushing it.
Whoa,
like we have, and
crazy.
usually there's a month of that which is on and off rain, which is August. It's usually end of April, the beginning of May, we can get outside. This year was like May 10th or something. And we usually can go through to about middle of September, somewhere in that time painting outside. It depends on the year. Some years we don't get snow until Christmas. Sometimes we don't get snow till after Christmas. Sometimes we get snow in October 31st. When I was a kid, it always snowed on Halloween. Like that was the joke where you're walking through the snow and you go up trick-or-treat and they're like, what are you? And we just have coats on. And we're like, we're warm. Give us some candy. They're trying to ask me what like, I'm really warm. Just give me some candy, But now we don't usually get snow around that time. But it is. It's a huge bell curve. Where a lot of down in the States, it's not as. I mean, you obviously have it, but it's not as drastic because you can move to inside, outside, everything like that. Well, we're either outside or inside. That's it. And so many people call me for interiors in the summertime, and I'm like, I would love to, but I cannot. I have so many people backed up that need to get their places painted, and we only have a certain amount of time to do it. And that's one of the reasons and maybe I'm telling my secret, hopefully no one from Alaska hears this, but I will always bid an interior because people can't get painters to show up at all in the summertime to give bids for interiors. And I said, I'll come and give you a bid no matter what, but you have to wait for me till the fall and get in the queue for the fall. And people are appreciative that I'm actually showing up because no one else is picking up their phone, and we give them the quote. And then by this time right now, we already have like 20 or 30 interiors already on the list. So we jump right in where now I'm not freaking out trying to get bids right now for the interior work. So, and we already have, oh my gosh, I want to say 40 properties on the list for next summer to get their house painted. It's just, people are just getting in the queue. That's all they do because there's not enough painters in the summertime to do the amount of work that needs to be done in the certain amount of time.
So with a seasonality like that, and you only have such a small window, and you promise 30 painters, how do you safeguard yourself from we can't get it done? What if you have a really wet August, or heaven forbid you lose a couple key players going into next summer, and there's like 10 jobs that you can't get to? How do you prepare customers for that sort of thing? Because we can paint outside 9 months out of the year.
Right. And we tell them that up front. Like right now, like I remember it was this year when I went to do some bids like in June, I told them, I was like, hey, we can accept this, but right now you're sometime in August or beginning of September. And everyone up here knows. I was like, and you know what happens in August and September? It's rainy. So we can get you in the queue, but I cannot guarantee and promise you that we'll be able to do it this year. Let's just pray. I always say farmers love the rain, painters hate it, but let's just pray that it doesn't rain every single day and we can do it this year. But if not, we have to move it over to the following year. And you don't lose your spot. And all we do is we start at the top of the list and we just work our way down. Everything's in the queue. That's it's not numbered, but we have it somewhat automated. So it's not like if you book this year, you're not going to be August of next year, essentially.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so key that you tell them up front, because then their expectation is, well, I hope I can, but I'm not expecting it has to be done. Because
it's so important that you're telling them that up front versus, oh, guess what? Now you have to wait almost a year to get it done.
I know. Yeah. And that's the whole thing is, I don't know why, but our industry has the worst problem with communication, which they just don't pick up their phone or they're kind of like embarrassed about it. But the thing is these homeowners or business owners just want to be in the know. That's it. They just want to know. And even if it's bad news, they're usually appreciative. And if they're not, it's understandable why they are upset. But if they're going to cancel the job or anything else, it's probably not the job you wanted anyways. So
now your office assistant, how often is she keeping in touch with future customers that are on the books? We call it the bench. Like if you're if the job's on the bench in your list, how often are they being touched?
I don't know exactly. I know she does keep in good contact. She calls on rainy days to let them know, hey, it's raining. Everything's getting pushed back. Gotcha. Because if I don't know, it's just, if it's raining for like 2 weeks and then it's one sunny day, her phone just blows up. Hey, where are you? Hey, where are you? Hey, where are you? He's like, well, these last 2 weeks, we weren't able to get outside, So Brianna's, oh my gosh, we call her our queen bee. She just runs the business. Like she just does absolutely everything on the back end. And I get so many people calling me and they go, your wife is so nice on the phone. And she's not my wife. But I'm like, she's so fantastic on the phone. She stays in contact with me, just so personable and nice. I'm like, yep, thank you for telling me, but she's not my wife. So, but yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
And your wife would be also awesome, but she's just, she's got the kids at home. So
yeah.
It's actually Dr. Wife. So it's very busy.
Right. You guys are all invited to my retirement party. My wife is a doctor, so.
Hey, that means if a bear eats us in Alaska, we're okay as long as Ben's wife is
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah.
What do you think going into, everyone's talking about the fear word of recession and everything. How are you guys safeguarding against potential market downturn? I don't know how it is in Alaska. California, we're stable because it's the cost of living's higher. It usually attracts people with more money. Yep. How's it in Alaska? Is it affected more in Alaska?
To an extent, yes, but some of it, no, because we do have for the amount of people that live here, we have some of the highest wages in the nation per capita because there's so much oil money here. So we're actually kind of dependent on oil prices too. So it depends. For the most part, if the price of oil does plummet, it kind of stagnates a little bit and waits till it comes back up and things pick up. But for the most part, all those people are still getting paid their salary. So we have a very high income per capita compared to other states. And we're still really good in the fact that the market is saturated with painters, but there's very limited actual companies where it's always the one guy in his truck with 2 workers or something like that. So the economy for my industry, it won't, in my opinion, never really plummets. It definitely goes in a downturn. But it doesn't, like some states, it's like federal funding or something like, they're very like one or two things, where we are very federal funded and oil heavy and then fishery. But for the construction industry, and I don't do a whole lot of like new construction residential or new construction commercial. I do commercial repaints and exterior direct to customer repaints. And so, and our customer list is built up so good too. We've been just riding off that. And everyone says they're scared about it, but I'm not scared about it. It's,
No.
That's why we got Kenny too. Kenny's coming in and we're going to be able to bid twice the amount of work now. And that's the only way you get to get work is to bid it. So that's a game plan. Bid twice as much work, stay in contact with my customer list, and just do what we're paid to do. And we'll just keep riding it out. So,
yeah, I I love your mindset. Very similar situation to where we're at too.
That's right, Seth. I'm coming after you. All right. I'm gonna
So you must be hiring all the time also, right? Like we always say, always be hiring, but especially because you brought Kenny on and the, amount of work that you can get done in the exterior is so limited, you must always be trying to look for workers so you can expand and get through that list.
Yeah,
faster.
we are. In Alaska, and everyone says their market's hard, and it is difficult, but Alaska, as much as we are we're connected to the North America, we're an island. I mean, we got Canada and Russia's not touching us, obviously, but we're an island up there where I can't pull from other counties. It's Anchorage. There's the valley, which has like 50,000 people up there, but that place is booming with new construction residential. So it's not all the painters. I don't know. It's not my forte up there. So it's hard for me to really pull from any other pools. It's Anchorage and that's it. So hiring ads are key. We just throw them out there. And I haven't been picking up a lot of painters. I've been picking up younger, clean cut, positive people and just training them. And it's working out so much better. So much better. I did hire one other. He talked a big game and he was a painter and he was already stealing from me on week 2. So, I mean, it's the stereotype of the old school painter is, just the painter is someone you really don't want in your house. So we've been just training up, hiring for character, training up. I just hired a kid. He's 19, but he worked at Fred Meyer's and he wants a career change. He wants to try something new. He wants to do a trade. We hired him and he's clean cut and he looks really positive and we're going to try him out. So that's what I've been doing. And it's been working out a lot better than hiring the experienced painter up here. So.
Fantastic. Now, what's your your training process like?
So we usually we have a whole, the training videos that we show them, the safety videos, how to hold the ladder, how to scrape, all that. But we always have them where if there's a brand new apprentice, they have to be with the lead, no matter what. They can never be on their own. They can't even be with just like a painter, someone who's been around for 2-3 years. He has to stay with them. Right. And then we just break it out where we just give them the simple tasks at first, let them feel some wins, get them some stuff like that. And then a couple months down the road, then we'll start really getting a brush in his hand. And, but it's just on job site training. That's it. And it has to be with the lead.
Yep.
And really some leads are a lot better at training than other leads. So I have to kind of pick and choose where I'm going to put him and move people around. So.
Sure.
So a few closing questions. Go ahead, Seth.
I was going to say, it's like one of those things where you have like a couple athletes and they have the same coach and they kind of have the same mindset and they have the same it's a lot of parallels. I don't think it's an accident, that we're both one-to-one clients with partner clients with Steve.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. I'm like listening to you. I'm like, everything but the snow and the bears is like the same. That's great. It's good to know that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun too.
Well, you guys are implementers.
Yeah. And to Ben's point too, I'll play off, because my role is to help them implement even more, right? To help them achieve their goals and stuff. Say, well, Ben's got this in there, and Seth like, what? Or Seth, to Ben, hey, he's got his other estimator rolling, what? And so it's a healthy competition, and so they continue to grow, and they're both so coachable too. Which is huge. This is such a big key. So I appreciate that in you guys. You make my job a lot easier. And but Ben, back to before we roll out, just a couple of questions here. We've got a busy schedule today. You and I got to get back on the road and over some job sites and meet with Bree and meet with Kenny and map out plans to blow past 2 million and hit 3. But first, what are some books that have helped you to change your perspective, to inspire you to take action, to step out of the comfort zone into the magic zone, and to break through some critical constraints?
Yep. So the one always clicks into my head is The Compound Effect. I've read it a couple times. I just love that book. And it's not, and it is somewhat business orientated, but it's more just like yourself. And that book, that was the first, because when I first started watching and got online and you recommended all those books, that was the first one I read, and I was just hooked. And then I read The Atomic Habit. I'm like, oh yeah, let's keep going. And then so Compound Effect, Atomic Habit. I'm reading Culture Code right now, which is fantastic. Gosh, I've read like 15 books, and now I'm kind of blanking. And I was never a strong
it's
reader.
tough when you're on the spot.
Yeah. But Atomic Habit and Compound Effect, I would say those two, you combine those two together, and it's fantastic. So
awesome.
Yeah. That gets Big Mo going.
Yeah.
Big Mo. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Awesome. So let me, Seth, do you have any final questions here before we roll out? April, Seth? I want to make sure you guys are good. I want to give Seth an opportunity too, because he's like, all right, I got to get an edge on this.
Is your crew size, since you have so many exteriors, do you find it efficient? You have such a small window. Do you put a bunch of guys on a job for like 2 days, or do you spread them out and do like 10 jobs with, or 5 jobs with 10 guys a week, or how do you do it?
We spread it out. Unless we're on a big commercial, then I'll throw in 2 or 3 crews. But it's a 2 to 3 man crew operation each one. And almost, I feel like it's that way too, because so many people are like, "Where are you?" And at least we're there. It's not like if I threw like 3 crews on one job, then they're like, "Hey, where are you?" It's like, "Oh, you're 3 jobs away." You're like, "Well, you said I was going to be." It's like, okay, so I like 2 to 3 man crews. I just think it's more efficient. Can kind of hold people more accountable. You can't have the one person just kind of cleaning the van, but they're really sitting in there.
Warm bodies.
Yeah, 2 to 3 men.
Are your work vehicles 4-wheel drive?
No, almost all the vans aren't. So it's studded tires and just slow driving. And a lot of times we try to leave the vehicle on site. And some of my guys, they'll just if it's not like a huge job, they'll just go to the shop, load up everything in their truck, and then just drive it there and leave it on site. Depends on the job.
Cool.
Okay. Awesomeness. Ben, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's been fun too to kind of record this on site while I'm here with you. What you have any final words of encouragement or advice for guys and ladies out there listening or watching on YouTube?
Yep. I don't mean to sound aggressive when I say this, but just shut up and do it. Everyone talks about doing things and saying they're going to do this, or saying they're going to build a business, or say they're going to get in shape, or say they're going to do this, and then they don't. So just follow through. And in the painting industry, do what you're paid to do. You're coming into someone's home or someone's business, and this is really intrusive. So make them feel as comfortable as possible. Give them the best quality paint job, and show up when you say you're going to show up. And you put those together, and it's just success for win.
It all comes together. That's it. Awesome. So thank you. If anybody had any follow-up questions for you, what's the best way they could reach out?
So if they want to, you can email me at ben@paintingalaska.com, or you can call the office 907-444-3657, and Brianna can take messages, and then I can get back to you. But those are the 2 best ways.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Ben. Appreciate it. And look forward to our day today and the rest of our time together. Thank you, Seth and April, for joining us. And to our viewers and our listeners, we want to encourage you to continue to dream bigger, hustle smarter. You've got this. Have a great day, everybody.
Good to see you, Ben.
Okay.
Go down, Seth.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If this was helpful, please share it with a friend to help inspire them to double their business. Again, this is April Burnett. Steve and I are the founders of Burnett Painting and DYB Coach. We want to take a moment and thank you for making us the most rated podcast dedicated specifically to painting contractors. To celebrate, we want to help you break through to higher success. So Steve is now giving away free strategy calls. Just click the link below in the show notes that says free strategy call. There are only a couple of openings on his calendar each week, so get your free call with Steve now. Thank you so much for listening, and remember to dream big, hustle smarter, you've got this.